Welcome. Thank you for joining us once again for another segment. We're going to talk about energy and infrastructure. Right now in the state of Alaska, it's kind of interesting because we have so much opportunity to create renewable and sustainable energy. We have been spoiled, by our oil and gas production in the past, having so much of an abundance, but of course it's a finite resource. And right now in Anchorage, Alaska, where I'm at currently in South Central, we're looking at about 6 years left of the current natural gas reserves that we have in the Cook Inlet with the wells that we have. And, that's not enough. We don't have enough time, nor do we have enough money to switch all of the houses over um, to a different, source individually and piecemealing it. So this is something that the rail belt has been dealing with as well because our power is shared. We have a power sharing agreement between large communities and communities on the rail belt. Creates diversification and stability. So if one community drops, then another community, pushes energy through the line. Right now, we need to actually extend the rail belt connectivity and complete it so it's fully unified and diversified. But within that, we should have multiple options of renewable energy. And Alaska is a land of extremes. And when you have those natural extremes, that's actually where you have the creation of energy potential. Um, right now, in South Central and interior Alaska and up north, we get 24 hours of sun. Why are we not using more solar panels in the summer? And they even work in the winter. Solar panels, the technology has come so far, it's pretty amazing. But we do know that in the winter there's less sun and snow cover and all sorts of things that happen. So, but we have increase of winds. And so for communities in the winter, they may be using more wind power. Um, Pretty exciting in Yakutat, where I'm the village corporation president. We've actually been working with the universities and uh, technology companies that are going to be piloting wave technology, tidal technology. And it's about 10 years to get to this point, so it's pretty exciting. But Alaska has, twice as much coastline as the rest of the United States. We have so much opportunity for tidal energy. It's pretty powerful. Um, Along with that, we have the ability for biomass or biodigesters. Um, in the state, we have a lot of communities that have issues with too much waste, whether it is waste in a dump, that piles up, or whether it's human waste. We have communities even right now as we speak that don't even have flushing indoor toilets. They still use honey buckets. We could just transition those communities straight into putting that waste into biodigesters to help them create energy for their community. We actually have an issue that's coming very quickly. It's already here, really. We have communities that buy their fuel in bulk for a season, sometimes months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year in advance. And it's coming out that a lot of the communities are going to be paying 12 or more dollars for a gallon of heating fuel. Yakutat is looking at $17 a gallon for heating fuel this winter. We have another community that sent us a receipt, and it's almost $20 a gallon for fuel. Um, People can't survive that way. It's just too much. It's too much on top of people who are already struggling to make ends meet. And the state can play a real role in solving some of these issues. One of the things that we have a problem with is our oil and gas is shipped outside of the state. It's not even prioritized for Alaskans. Um, we need to have refineries here that refine fuel and make it a priority that Alaskans have access first, and then we ship things out. We also have, issues that we need to resolve, like the LNG pipeline. right now it doesn't pencil out. It's going to be more than $60 billion to build that pipeline. It's going to be extraordinarily expensive, if it happens at all. And, the current governor is trying to give away the royalties, the taxes, and again, he was trying to prioritize shipping it out before Alaskans have access. So there's a pretty big farce that's been happening. They're trying to convince people that's what it's going to solve all their energy needs. But the issue is the dollars do not pan out for that pipeline. It is actually something we need to address, though, because that natural gas up on the North Slope, when they've been working with those wells, they've actually been flaring. And for a long time, it was denied that there was flaring, but there's been satellite imagery that shows those wells flare at night, which then creates, black carbon that enters into the atmosphere. And that's twofold problem. One, in the spring and summer and fall, that black carbon covers, buries, it gets on, our subsistence foods and greens, roots. It soaks into the earth and has those heavy metals associated with them. And then the caribou and other animals eat them. And so it's in our food systems and cycling through, and that's terrible. It also reduces air quality. There's communities like Nuiqsut that have huge issues with respiratory illnesses that have been documented by the local people and the local caregivers. Also, the flaring in the winter, that black carbon gets on the ice and snow and it changes the albedo. Albedo is how much light is coming into the earth that's then hits the surface, and then the reflection. So how much of that light that comes in and is reflected back is called the albedo. So when you have black, carbon on snow, on glaciers, on ice, it's going to change the albedo and it's going to warm it up and melt it faster. And we are a cryosphere that our Alaska and the North, the Arctic, we actually have, like I said, this cryosphere that holds the weather. It creates a stability for the weather patterns of the world. And, with climate change, we have a massive disruption that's happening. So being mindful of that, and why don't we then produce, that natural gas up on the slope into energy and then have it a line that's just coming down and networked out to transfer that energy. There's lots of different opportunities. We just need smarter people, not people's cousins or their best friends doing the work, but actually bring in smart problem solvers, technologists to help make recommendations to do things in a more efficient way that will bring better benefit to not only the people, but also the environment. Not just out-of-state billionaires. Alaska has a problem with prioritizing out-of-state billionaires over their own population. So when we're looking at energy, we have hydropower, micro hydropower, tidal power, solar power, wind power, biodigester power, all these options. And what we're going to do is look at communities and say, what is best for your community, and support the funding of bringing in that new technology. And of course, working with AVEC. AVEC is a co-op that takes care of most of the village electrical systems. They're outdated. We have infrastructure all over our state that is outdated and falling apart with deferred maintenance. We all know that prevention, planning, and care is more affordable than crisis management. And so investing in our infrastructure and updating it to go along with these renewable energy sources is highly important for the success of our state. I could dig in more and nerd out a little bit, but we are trying to keep these short. So please read the policy. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll be answering questions as we receive them.